Okay, welcome to week 10, and welcome to the beginning, as your week 10 PDF states, the beginning of interactivity. This is one sort of larger exercise that's going to encompass quite a few things, and because it's a larger exercise, I've sort of laid out some things that are going to just make it go quicker, and I'll go over those in a second. Before I head into this, I want to sort of talk about this idea of ActionScript. ActionScript is a programming language, a very simple programming language that Flash uses in order to create interactivity. And when I say interactivity, I want you to sort of think about, hopefully you've already read over Project 3 and Week 10 PDF. This is an opportunity for a user, and you might be the user when you're sort of laying out your Project 3, a user to make a choice in terms of which direction they're going to go, what scene they're going to go to in lieu of another scene, and hopefully Project 3 makes sense in terms of that. You guys are creating a project where the viewer has a choice. They have a choice to go one way or another. Okay, and we get to that choice via what's called buttons. A button, for lack of a better description, is sort of like a link on a web page. It's something that we know for one reason or another. We roll over it and we get the little hand, it's highlighted, whatever, that we can sort of go to a different spot. And I'm going to show you sort of how to make a button. A button is the third of the symbols. We have done graphics. Graphics are very, very simple sort of objects that we animate. We have done movie clips that are a little more complicated. They're sort of animations inside the library. And in this case, we're going to do a button. Okay, so what I have already completed here is basically steps 1 through 8. We open Flash. We create a new ActionScript 3.0 document. We're going to change the document to 800 by 300. And we're creating 3 different scenes. So over here, and I'll sort of put it right here, I have 3 scenes. Remember, to insert a scene, we can simply go to Insert Scene, or we can go to Window, Scene, and then add them via this little tiny little icon there. So I have a home scene, I have a red ball scene, and you'll see I've already done some things there, and I have a green ball scene. Okay, 3 different scenes. Sometimes I can't quite tell on your Swifts, but it looks like people have done what I suggested many weeks ago, sort of breaking things up into scenes, into different parts. These are easier to deal with. So I have my home scene, my red ball scene, and my green scene. These are going to sort of prove whether or not our buttons and our ActionScript are working. Okay, so let's head into the document here, our making an interactive button or ActionScript. Step 9, go to the home scene. So we're going to make sure we're on my home scene. We can also tell up here that we're on our home scene. I'm going to move this over. And it says go to Windows Actions. And we're going to do our very first action. Remember, an action is a bit of script that basically tells the timeline to do something. And I'll go over that in a second. Now, in the Actions window, type, and this is the most simple action, stop with these parentheses. So I'm going to type stop, and I do these little parentheses. Okay, this is sort of hand coding or typing in an action. This is the most simple action that we have. Now, I'm going to talk about stop for a second. Pretty much everything that we've done up to this point are Flash movies that we make. And when Flash sort of opens up your Swift file, it wants to, as I say, go, go, go. It just wants to play, and it wants to play again, and play again, and play again indefinitely. What we're doing here is we're stopping the movie, okay? And I'm going to sort of talk about this in relation to your timeline in a second. So I'm going to close this. And what you'll notice up here is probably very difficult to see, but you can probably see it on your computer, is there's a tiny little A in that keyframe, in that blank keyframe now. Remember, home is our first scene. Flash, when it comes into the movie, it wants to go to your first scene, your second scene, your third scene, and we're stopping it at our first scene. Okay, so this little A up there basically stops the movie so that nothing happens. Okay, in order to be organized, as I always want to, I'm going to do what step 12 says. I'm going to label this stop action. As we get more into actions, we'll often want to sort of put them in particular places, and in this case, the action is going to be on the timeline, and I want to sort of have a particular layer for that. Okay. Again, I'm big on organizing our layers, so we might as well just sort of have that on its own layer. Okay. Now, step 13. Choose Insert New Symbol, and we're going to name this symbol Go To Green Ball Button. And the parentheses say this should help set it apart from the green ball graphic. Okay. Again, as organized as possible. So I'm going to go to Insert New Symbol, and I'm going to go and call this Go To Green Ball Button. Might as well be very clear about it. Next thing I need to do is make sure I choose that it's a button. Okay, buttons are very different from our other two symbols, and we're going to sort of talk about how they are different here in a second. So, Go To Green Ball Button. Okay, and I'm going to hit OK, and we pop in just like we would if we were to make a graphic. We pop into the library, and I want you to notice something before we sort of head into making this button. Up here, we have our layer 1, but this looks a little different. We have up, over, down, and hit. Okay. If you know anything about sort of web development, these might ring a bell. These are sort of states, meaning that the up state is the state of this button when nothing is really happening to it. The over state is when we sort of hover over it. The down and hit have to do with when you're interacting with it, okay, with sort of a click of a mouse. And we'll get into that maybe next week a little more in depth. Now, the up state, we just basically need to draw something. So I'm going to go over to my text tool, as step 16 says, and let's see here. I want to draw a text box, okay? And what I'm going to do here is basically type, and I'm going to type Go To Green Ball. I'm going to move this around and pull that text box out so that it gets a little more, so it's basically on one line there. Okay. So we have Go To Green Ball. Okay. And step 18 says insert keyframes in each of the over and down state, or over, down, and hit states. Okay. So we can go to this over, down, and hit state, and we can control hit, and we can hit insert keyframe. Basically what this does is it's going to copy over what we did in the up state. So we're just sort of doing this in a long way. So I'm going to hit insert keyframe. And the last thing I want to do, it says highlight the text on the over state of the keyframe and change it to a light green. All I'm doing is creating one sort of different state, and again you'll get to use this idea of state, so that I can sort of see that that button is sort of being activated. Okay, it's the little hover over, it's going to change, and there's a little bit of reward and sort of, wow, look, something's happening. Okay, so I'm going to go to my over state, okay, and I'm going to choose my text tool, and all I'm going to do is, all I'm going to do is sort of change this to a slightly lighter green. Okay, so we'll see, and I'll grab this as I sort of hover over it, and that's only the over state. I get a light green there. Okay. Now, step 20. Repeat steps 13 through 19, but this time it should say Go To Red Ball Button. Okay, so just so you can sort of review this, I'm going to sort of do that. So I'm going to go to Insert New Symbol, Go To Red Ball Button. I want to make sure it's a button. Click OK. I'm now inside the sort of symbol. I'm going to use my text tool. This time I'll draw a long one and Go To Red Ball. Now, this sort of was left over from the green, so I'm going to highlight that and choose a color red. I'm going to insert keyframes on each of these. And it doesn't explicitly state it, but I'm going to sort of change this to a light red. Okay, again, just the sort of simple recognition that we're sort of activating a button. Okay. Now, what we have to do next is do something with this in relation to our scene. So, step 21 says on the home scene, insert two layers. Name one of them red ball button and name the other green ball button. Okay, these are basically going to be the places where we put these buttons. So I'm going to insert a layer there, and I'm going to call this first one red ball button. I'm not going to do anything with it yet. I'm simply going to sort of set up, and this is going to be called green ball button. And all these are sort of places for things to sort of happen. I like to sort of, for the 8th time here, even in this video, I like to be organized. I like to know where things are. If you have problems with ActionScript later, it's easier if they're sort of separated out. It's easier to sort of delete a layer and see if that's where your issue is. So again, our stop action, we have our red ball button, and we have our green ball button. Okay. Now, step 22, it says drag the go to green ball button onto the stage on the first frame of the green ball button layer. Okay, that's a mouthful, but it's pretty straightforward. Here's my green ball button layer. I want to go to my green ball over here in the library. I'm just sort of double checking that that's what it is, and I'm going to grab my go to green ball button, and I'm going to set it down on that first keyframe. Okay, that sort of, here I'm going to move over, that sort of lit up or became a keyframe that has something in it, so I know I put that in the right spot. Okay. Next step is basically doing the same for the red ball button. So I'm going to go to my red ball button layer here. I'm going to make sure I'm on that keyframe. I've highlighted that keyframe, and I'm going to grab my go to red button, go to red ball, and set it right there. Okay. Now, one thing I'm going to explain here before I'm going to stop this video and do the rest in part 2. There can be a lot happening here with only really one frame. We've been animating as the week 10 PDF states. We've been animating in this very linear way. At this point, we only have basically one frame of a movie, but we have two buttons that can be rolled over. We have a stop action, and there's a lot going on in that little bit of space there. Okay, I'm going to show you just quickly again before I go to the next video as it exports here. Okay, we have this, we have these buttons. You can see that we're really not going anywhere. We're not going to those other scenes, and that's the stop. The stop has stopped this, and it's waiting for the user to do something. If I click on these, nothing happens yet because we haven't attached any script here that says what to do. What's happening right now is simply that Flash is stopped on that first keyframe because that little action right there, our little A that we created at the beginning of the video, is stopping it, and it's basically waiting for something to happen. Part 2 is going to denote how to make something happen. So if you want to sort of just make sure that your video is doing this at this instance, this will mean your stop action is working, and by rolling over these and seeing that different shade, it means your button's working. Okay, so I'm going to stop this video and we'll finish this up in a part 2.